welcome to another edition of 10-Minute Joomla Tips. I'm your host Marco, and I want to thank everyone watching this podcast. I appreciate your emails, and I appreciate your thanks and your word of encouragement. I want to let you know that I am working on your suggestion. I'm currently reviewing several Joomla components that you have suggested, including Zoo, Flexi Content, and others. And today, the topic will be forms for Joomla. In particular, I'm going to review one component called Joomla Forms, a component made by Phil Taylor that can be found at formsforjoomla.com, forms-for-joomla.com. Joomla Forms is a commercial component, and it's certainly not unique. There are many other form components for Joomla. Some are very good, some not so good, some free, some commercial. However, I decided to cover Forms for Joomla because it's one of my favorites. Quite frankly, is the one that I found that has the most power, together with ease of use. Ease of use is also important because we don't want to spend all day making a form. We want to make it quickly. It doesn't matter how good you are. So you need to have the power, but you also have to be able to make a form quickly. And Joomla Forms fits the bill. And we are going to start by installing it. I have a website here. It's on my local host. It's a stock Joomla installation, the kind that you download from the VirtueMart website. And I've used it before for this podcast. It's very handy because it's not the basic Joomla installation, but it's got a few things going for it and a somewhat more interesting template. And here is the administration where we are gonna go and install Joomla Forms. Let's browse here and let's go to Phil Taylor Blue Flame. You notice that I date my folders where I download the various versions. I want to be able to go back to an earlier version if needed, just in case there is some incompatibility, which lately with Joomla 1.5.17 I found a few. So this is the latest that I have. It might have come out with the new version since, but I'm installing this one. And BF Forms for Joomla, it's what we are going to install, upload file and install. And it has been installed. The reason why I'm showing you the installation, which I shouldn't really because it's very easy, is that Joomla Forms installs a little differently. Now you have to complete by going to Components and click on Complete Installing Blue Flame Forms. And now you have to choose to install the framework and click in the next screen to continue. Install the Ajax plugin, xAjax plugin, and we are finally on the last screen. Now it says here, in order to embed forms into content items or modules, you need to install the free add-ons. So use the add-on menu item on the left to do this. So we're gonna go to the add-ons menu item and we're gonna install the two plugins. And we are ready to create our form. So let's go create a new form and we'll call it simply form test. And we click on create. After we create the form, we click on it and we are presented with this screen. And step one allows us to create the name and page title or change it. We can set the span controls, which I'll review later, and user permission. But what we want to do now is add form fields. Adding form fields is very easy. Let's start with fname. And now we have a choice between text box, text area, password, select list, that's a drop-down list, check boxes, radio boxes, file upload. We also have a number of pre-fill drop-downs like years from 1900 to 2049. I should be so lucky. Australian, Canadian, countries, world currencies 1 to 100 rating, USA states. This is very useful. We also have Joomla specific fields that we can create, username, user ID, etc., IP address. We also have a number of special fields like plain HTML and a date picker, and we can also insert submit and post buttons, but those are automatic, so we don't need to worry about it now. What I want to do is create just a simple text box and say create now. We have our friendly title, that's for us to know what this field is. The public field title, this we probably change to first name. And an HTML field name where fname will be fine. We can write instructions here. Then we can go and see some options. The one that we really want is the validation. Is this required or not? We're gonna say yes. There are also several filters, permissions, styles. You can put a class or write down a CSS style just for this field. But this is usually enough. For now, we only have a name. So let's save this and let's go create another one. Again, we click on new and we call this email. Again, we choose a text box, create now, and for validation this time we're going to say that yes, it is required, and now the input must be a valid email address. Again, we click save. Let's create another field. Let's call it subject, and again another text box. For validation, again we say that yes, it's necessary, and save it. Let's create another one, and this time we choose a text area. Create now, and again we can validate that it needs some input. We don't want a blank email, and click on save. So now we have a simple form. In fact, we can already preview it. Let's click on preview, and you can see that we have this very simple form with a message, a submit, and a preview. The layout is not great, but it's automatic, and there are things we can do to make it better. In fact, one of the things that we can do is this. We can go in the form layout and we can insert our own CSS if we want. We can even put our own JavaScript. We have some advanced HTML features and an expert-only area for alternative processing scripts and other things. One very nice option is to choose to use custom form layout. And now you see the new tab appeared in a custom Smarty template. These are the fields that we can use to actually build our own form. So if we take this and copy and paste it here, now we can wrap these fields in our own HTML. In fact, we can write the titles and description ourselves and just use these Smarty tags here and wrap it in any HTML we want. Once we are done, we'll parse the form and we can create any layout we want. And let's go to the submit actions. Now we have a number of submit actions that we can work with. The ones that I use the most are usually send email, save to database, the simple thank you text, and the redirect. This one, it's easy to create a Joomla page and then redirect the form there for a fancier thank you page. Let's start by sending an email, and let's call it email to submitter. And here we have a choice on who the email is gonna go to, and since we called our field email, all we had to do to enter the email submitted by the individual filling the form is just put the name of the field in all caps surrounded by pound signs. Then we can go to the email content, and we have plain text and HTML email. We can put any type of HTML here and every type of text there. And we click on save. We create a new one, and this time we call it save to DB, and we'll save the submission to database. And this one, there is not much to do. And let's create another one for a simple thank you. Create now. And here you can put a title. Thank you very much, Baba. And you can use these tags for last name and first name if you have those fields in your form, or any fields that you created. You just simply put a $sign in front, and you can write anything you want in this thank you page and save. One important aspect of Joomla Forms is the spam controls. And I love the spam controls in Joomla Form because they do not require a CaptCat. I hate CaptCat. You can use a Molom plugin. You go to molom.com and request a key, and both Molom and Akismet check the email against a large database. There is an IP banning list, and you can choose if you want to compare it against this blacklist of IP address. A word blacklist, you can put things like Viagra in there. And finally, my favorite, the hidden element. Essentially, the way this works is an invisible field that human beings cannot see. If the field has any data in it, Joomla Forms knows that most likely the email is a spam. Well, this brings this issue of 10-minute Joomla tips to a conclusion. I hope you enjoyed this presentation of Blue Flame Joomla Forms. Again, I would like to thank everyone for watching this podcast. Please subscribe on iTunes, Feedburner, and all the major podcast aggregators. Let me know how we are doing. Please email us and let us know if there is anything that you would like us to review. Speaking of reviews, in about 2 weeks to a month, we might be starting reviewing templates from the major template producers and extensions. As always, if you have any suggestions, drop us an email and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much. Have a great day.